It's 10 a.m. Eastern in New York and Atlanta, where we are tracking two court cases dealing with former President Donald Trump. In New York, the judge in the Stormy Daniels hush money case has denied Trump's motion to dismiss the charges. The judge also confirmed they are moving ahead with jury selection on March 25th. Trump spoke ahead of the hearing.
Obviously, I'm running for election. How can you run for election and be sitting in a courthouse in Manhattan all day long? I'm supposed to be in South Carolina right now, where other people are, and where, again, this is where I should be. I shouldn't be in a courthouse for something that virtually every legal scholar says they don't understand it, there's no crime. Even if he was guilty of something, there's no crime.
Well, we know that he has appeared in court voluntarily several times. He doesn't always have to be in the courthouse. So
it's like saying, I got to go pick up my kid. I can't do my job.
Yeah,
everybody's got
and, you know, we pointed this out already, but a lot of these court appearances, he's actually folded into his campaigning, and it's actually worked out for him because he's raising money based on his legal needs. In the meantime, though, in Atlanta, lawyers are dealing with former President Trump's Fulton County election interference case. The hearing is set to focus on whether DA Fani Willis personally benefited from a relationship with the lead prosecutor in the case, who she hired. We're going to continue to monitor this and bring you updates throughout the day. For more, though, let's bring in CBS News congressional correspondent Scott MacFarlane joining us from D.C. So, Scott, what can you tell us about Trump's New York case?
The timing really is quite striking. Jury selection set to begin now March 25th, 20 days after Super Tuesday. And the New York judge, Juan Merchan, said in open court this morning he talked with Washington, D.C. federal judge Tanya Chutkan, the one overseeing Trump's 2020 election conspiracy case here in Washington, and that the dates seem to work out now for March 25th, a jury selection in New York. And it's worth underscoring this, even though it may be obvious to some. In a criminal case, it's not about whether Donald Trump wants to be there or not. He must be there at the defense table every day for as long as the trial goes. That fundamental dynamic holds true when he goes on trial here in Washington, in the election subversion case, and in Florida, in the classified records case. It's not like it was in previous months where he came and went as he saw fit. He would have to be there every day, which speaks to the point he made out in the hallway. He can't be out campaigning elsewhere. This New York hush money case, which has been kind of an afterthought ever since these larger federal cases were filed, was the first one to be charged. So perhaps at the end of the day, it's fitting, Vlad and Anne-Marie. It's now set to be the first one to go before a jury.
All right, Scott, let me switch gears here and ask you about what's going on the Hill. Where do things stand on that foreign aid package?
The U.S. House, Vlad, is set to recess mid-afternoon here in Washington today until February 28th. Let's count up the things that are not yet done, that need to be done while they're gone. Aid for Israel, which failed on the House floor last week, and there's no path to getting it approved. Aid to Ukraine, which the House Speaker seems disinclined to even bring to the floor because Republicans tend to oppose it, even though the White House says Ukraine needs money for things like bullets and munitions and needed it last year. And the government funding deadline is coming. The House has gone till about February 28th. The government funding deadline is March 1st. Thankfully, it's a leap year that gives them a full day to figure out how to keep the lights on and federal workers employed. There are a lot of things to do, but here's the fundamental issue, Anne-Marie and Vlad. The U.S. House would be holding votes if they could pass votes. Right now, they don't have a path forward on any of those things, so might as well go home, tend to district business, and negotiate behind the scenes. But there is a transcendent pessimism here in Washington about all those urgent matters because of the narrow margins and, to a degree, the paralysis in the U.S. House.
So give us an idea of some of these other urgent matters that we really haven't been talking about.
Let's dig into Ukraine a little bit further, because that's the one that the White House said needed to urgently be addressed in December. We're no longer in December. The Senate just passed this big $95 billion deal that took some negotiations to pair Ukraine, Israel, and Taiwan aid, package them all together, get the money out the door. But they got some dissension from some Republicans who said, oh, we got to deal with the border here first in the U.S., even though a deal to do just that collapsed. The Republican opposition earlier this month. The U.S. House is saying the same thing. We want to do border security first, but they don't have a path forward to getting that through on a bipartisan basis. So that's what we really are talking about when we say paralysis. It's not that they can't come together. They're moving in different directions. And all of this money for Ukraine and Israel are held in the balance as border security negotiations go on. And Anne-Marie and Vlad, we talked about this yesterday in New York, but that election Monday night on Long Island may have turned the politics upside down. A Democrat won, talking about border security issues, and nobody's quite sure where the politics of this go now moving forward. That's not going to help reach consensus either.
All right, so the House is not getting... What I find really fascinating, Scott, about what's happening in the House of Representatives is that, on one hand, you've got House leadership, Republican leadership yesterday, saying that they, in impeaching, for example, Secretary Mayorkas, are doing what their constituents want them to do. But on the other hand, you hear from people saying, look, most important pressing issue that you all have been on about for the last 2 years is what to do at the border. The Senate put together a bipartisan package to address those issues at the border, and you soundly rejected them because of admonitions from former President Trump. There's also money that, as we've just been talking about, that has not been approved for Ukraine, for Taiwan, for Israel. So is there any sense from Speaker Johnson that they're going to do anything that registers as a win for their party?
Not in the near future. There's no path forward, Vlad, and I think that's one of the reasons why the House is comfortable saying so long to Washington, D.C. for a couple weeks to regroup.
All right. Scott MacFarlane,
Thank
always
you.
great to have you, my friend. Thank you.